Hello, Shaz in the future. This is Shaz in the past. We've done 100 videos. This is the 101st video, so I thought we'd take a break. We're still going to do a video. Let's check what video we're going to do real quick. But also just to put some context. About 50 videos in, we decided to move the microphone from the computer onto the table in front of you. We're getting better audio. I think 100 videos in, we are deciding to do about 3 a day. So we're going to start standardizing the length of these. That's what I've noticed getting back into creating art, getting back into writing. Written about 8,000 words towards the current project that I'm trying to do, which isn't really something to sell, but a part of the pitch for a book project to eventually sell. I'm realizing that the way I write, I guess, the way I've written, it's pretty free form. Here we're going to do Charlie Chaplin on humanity. That's a good one. Charlie Chaplin. We'll have some cool stuff to talk about him in a minute. But so we're gonna do, I guess, this My Movie Maker webcam cuts off at an hour, which is a good cutoff. So we'll do an hour of video, and I seem to talk just about up to an hour, anyways. And the first couple were just freeform. I didn't even know when it cut off. I just went on to the next topic. So the military, I think I only gave it an hour. I would have talked more about that if I knew I was going to do multiple ones. The one that I did multiple ones, the first one I think was Iraq Notes, because I stuck my head down, was like, all right, let's just plow through this. And that was like 5, 7 videos. But then I realized that some of these topics are more emotionally weighted than others. I think I'm going to try to stick to an hour for most of these. Occupy Wall Street is going to take a while because we have multiple documents in that one link. And I don't want to shortchange that one. So, and I probably would have spent more hours, more of them on the childhood, but we're going to go over this again. Look at, these are my thumbs down here. See, I'm doing that. So you only see my thumbs. So Shaz in the future, just explaining that we're starting to organize this. You know this already. You know everything I know and more. I don't know everything you know. I know some of what you know. You have a little bit of lead on me, but we've both run the same race for most of the time. And then you're just a little bit ahead, about a year probably. Maybe that's a way to live life, around October, November, December, last quarter of the year. I noticed I haven't watched these, I'm not supposed to, but every now and then, I just watched a little bit of yesterday's, just to see how it's sounding. And then I notice how I'm speaking, and sometimes I'll speak a little lazily, and I just won't pronounce my words. So, So this is good because this is, when I watch this, I'll be able to tell how I'm speaking and enunciating how I sound, how I come off. And that's the whole point, is to observe myself, correct my word and my actions, correct towards the truth. If I'm going to try to do great things at a faster timeline than I originally planned, we have to improve faster. So I have to try to earn that wisdom of a 50-year-old. I was going to get into politics in my 50s after I started a family and made some millions and lived some life. But I think the world is running out of time, so we're speeding stuff up. I am doing my process transparently so other people can transparently see how possibly they can also speed up their intellectual and emotional growth, their character, if you will. I guess maybe that's what character is, intellectual, emotional growth. Character is wisdom, I think, earned through life. And then also education. Maybe not. Uneducated people still can have character. Character is like the code, wisdom. These things are all somewhat synonymous. So the format of this, it appears, is I'll probably end up, I have about 45 more, 43 more maybe. I have a list. Hold up a sec. Shaz from the future. Shaz from the future. SFTF. We have 42 more. So that's going to put us at 142. But some of these it'd be nice to end on 150, a round number. So some of these are going to be multiple hours. I think we're going to do the Occupy, definitely multiple hours. There may be some other ones. I'll plan it out once we get to it. Right now, Yeah, today or tomorrow. Because we still have Chaplin on humanity, MLK on love, MLK on economics. Then we have Jesus on greed, Jolie on solidarity, Huey on love. So that's Wednesday, Thursday. Huh, that's good. And then Friday we can do VX license, 3 songs, mugshot Facebook. That'll be good. And then, yeah. So we're gonna try to do 3 a day, 3 to 4 a day. Maybe Friday we'll do 4. Cause nah, we could do 3. Well, Friday we might do 5 because VX license, 3 songs, mugshot Facebook, Florida arrest, and color from mug all go together. So what I'll do probably within today, tomorrow, within this week, just write my notes. Shouts from the future. If you remember this is how you're outlining all this stuff. And then these notes right here, are the notes of the you're gonna say at the very end. At the very end, we will talk about stuff that maybe like notes that I've taken, mostly about childhood, I guess, that I remembered after the fact, that, and also some perspective, like how does this sound? What type of person am I coming off as? Which I won't really know until I review the whole thing. But yeah, that's what is the point of this? Well, to check myself, to improve my growth, and then also to live honestly and transparently. If I'm going to ask for a leadership position in society, this is try to do the things, try to lead by example. I have a lot of complaints about how people lead and what's going on in society, but then I should before I criticize other people, I just like when someone gives me a platitude, think of the inverse. If the inverse, obviously they wouldn't say, then the platitude is meaningless. Wisdom is found in the subtlety of the middle, not the extremes. Unless you're dealing with a very strong spirit who doesn't mind saying extreme stuff, but they're going to back it up by their actions in their life. So the same way, if I think of asking of someone something, I think, well, would I do it? And good leaders do that. That's leading by example. So I would like to ask of the world more honesty and sincerity, but first I have to present an example of that. So by me doing this dialogue, not prepared, just you have one little breadcrumb of my life and then I talk about it. Allow my mind to wander honestly. I hold back a little bit. I don't just, it seems like maybe I just talk, but there is a structure to it and I try to wrap it up. Sometimes I don't grab all the points, but I'm at the very edge of free association without actually just word associating. I do have topics and tangents, but we try to come back. I watch I haven't watched any of these all the way through, but I watched a good 10-15 minutes of one and I was like, I didn't wrap up all those thoughts, which is okay. I'd rather have it more loose than more structured. Definitely no notes. It's not, so there's this guy on a YouTube ad yesterday, and you can see his eyes just focused on the screen, and he's talking to you, and he's like, blah, 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 but his eyes are like, blah, blah, blah. You can see him reading shit. It's like, I will talk closed. That's a good way. I will talk with my eyes closed, and that way you know that I'm not reading anything except on the back of my eyelids, right? So, Shaz of the future, what is this? I'm telling you that at 100 videos in, we're starting to get more structure. I think I'm going to commit to doing an hour video. Before I'd do like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but then I started getting so many hour videos while I was running to the very end and then trying to wrap it up. I think that's going to be the format. I don't know how many total minutes are. I haven't counted all these. But the folder I'm holding them in, properties, has 53 gigabytes. So that's a lot. Shit. I should start uploading these. I think I already did. I should upload more. Yeah, it's a scary thing. I need to back up this data better. I will when I get the money. If you don't have stuff backed up in 3 different sections in the cloud, separate hard drive, separate from your laptop, all air-gapped, then you don't really have it backed up, is what they say. But I think we're going to end up with 150. I'll plan that out within the week, so that way we'll have 150 videos. Some of these will have multiple videos. I was trying not to plan too much as I go forward. But I think we're on the back end now. Although I'll count up the hours. That's what I'll do. I'll upload the rest of these to YouTube, count up the hours. Maybe we're only 50% based on hours if I'm going to do a full hour video here on out, because a lot of the back ones weren't full hours. And then what else? And yeah, and then also if I'm doing about 3 videos a day and I have 45 left, give or take, some days I'll do more. On the days I'm doing more than 1 video for a topic, then I'll finish in about 3 weeks. My workout regimen has been going for about 3 weeks. So 3 more weeks will put me at 6-7 weeks will be nice to compare. So that way on the videos you see the beard grow, you see the hair grow, you see the muscles grow. And that'll be a nice little thing. When I started these videos, I was pretty weak, a little bit gaunt in the face. So it'll be nice to see the change. Been eating a lot. A little chubby though. After this, I've been doing like pretty much a sloppy bulk. Not the sloppiest, but like this morning we ran out of protein. My mom had this plant-based protein. I've been taking a little scoop after workouts. And we ran out, so I just ate like half a thing of sausage. It wasn't like processed sausage, no preservatives, no blah blah blah. It was just a big meat patty sausage. But I had to get like a good 30-40 grams of protein for that post-workout meal, so it was pretty sloppy. Getting a little soft in the middle, but it's okay. I could tell when I'm doing pull-ups. It's like I'm getting stronger, but the pull-ups are still a struggle, which means that as I gain muscle mass, I'm like, and that's why you do pull-ups, to see your muscle mass to fat ratio. You can be strongest person in the world, but if you can't do pull-ups, it's not that functional. So that's what I think. You always want to be able to do push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. So you know what one thing, Shaz, in the future, and you know this more than I do. There's a couple of cute girls at the gym I've been working out with, but I don't have any money, and I'm on this grind. I went on Tinder and didn't really work out. So I'm not really thinking I should get out into the dating mode until I figure out the career money thing. It's always been the rule. Never really felt comfortable going after girls when I was broke. I have, and it's worked out, but there's stuff that happens. But it's nice to have some money in your pocket. Then Shaz of the future. Should I talk to one of these girls at the gym? I don't know. Sometimes we're working out, they're next to me, but I'm just ignoring them. But then that's the thing, is that I know my life is just, once you open up a door, then I easily get distracted. And so sometimes I'm on my grind. A friend in Santa Cruz used to tell us he was like on soldier mode. He was a fighter. MMA is picking up in Santa Cruz. Luke Rockhold is from Santa Cruz. There's some good fighters out of there. It's a good culture. Once you have like a good gym and good people and a lot of money going into it, and then some fighters make it. San Bernardino, where I grew up, is where Tap Out, one of the biggest fighting brands, one of the first big ones, came from San Bernardino. So, but yeah, he said he was on his soldier mode when he was really training. He's a personal trainer now. He didn't have the heart to fight. To fight, you have to be a little bit mean. He was too nice of a guy to make someone else's face hamburger. It's not that I was too nice to do wrestling, but it was interesting, the wrestling part and the working out part. But when we got in there, I was like, well, also I was used to fighting people bigger than me. It's my first year wrestling. I was a 130-pounder fighting wrestling 140, 145 pounds. So I just wasn't used to winning. So my senior year, I won some, but it was never about winning to begin with. It was about just a challenge. And I didn't really take the nutrition that seriously. So people were always stronger than me. So when I went in there, I was usually getting thrown around, and it was more about technique. I was like 5'10", 5'11", already in high school, and then I just stopped. And a lot of wrestlers from where we're at, Southern California, short, stocky Mexicans, or short, stocky white guys, but a lot of Mexican wrestlers. So every time I went in there, if you're weighing 140, and that person's weighing 140, but you're 3-4 inches taller than them, they're probably stronger than you. You get used to that. Yeah, most of the people I wrestle or fight with are stronger than me. But in my older age, I'm learning how to put on more strength, and that's fun. Round out that skill set. So, we better get to this video. We're already 15 minutes in. Shaz of the future. This was just a little context of what we're doing. Wherever you are, this time, 2019, I hope that you are happy. I hope you got those dogs that you've been thinking about getting. I hope you've been in nature more, walking and hiking. What else was I thinking about doing this next year? Shoot more, talking about the military made me realize I haven't really shot guns since I've been in the military. It'd be nice to check my marksmanship. Did you correct your vision? I was thinking about doing that. These glasses, being so dependent on these glasses for the last 5 months since I got kicked out of the apartment and didn't have any, I haven't had any real petty cash for a minute. So I was like, you know what? Next time I have cash, maybe I'll just do that surgery. I spend over $2,000 in contacts every year. Invest in myself. What else? Sex. I hope you had a lot of sex after you got some money, Shaz of the future, because you're a little pent up. But the dogs and the new vision, and camping. That's what it is. I usually don't have that many big plans. Obviously, running for president, starting a political party, and starting a publishing company and selling books seem like big plans, but they're just stuff that I think is on my path. But images, have an image of a life. And when I first got into real estate, I started showing apartments in the village, and I thought, I want to live here. This is beautiful. Right below Washington Square Park, I was just always there. And then apartments were $2,000 to $3,000. I was like, I could do this. At first I had a roommate, and I was paying $1,700, and then got my own apartment for $26,000. And then, but that was a sublet. And then an apartment in my name for $23,000, but it was a studio. And then a 1-bedroom for $26,000, my own apartment with roof deck, and it was everything I wanted. At that time. Now, I wouldn't live like that now because the cockroaches and the landlord. I learned that. Not learned, but you just, as long as, this is what I would tell my clients, as long as your new place is better than the last, whether you're climbing the ladder slowly or quickly, but when they would say, oh, this isn't perfect, this and that, it's like, well, where are you coming from? Multiple roommate situation, yeah, and get a studio. Maybe not just jump into that 1-bedroom. I did it. $2,300 for a studio, 12 by 12 square feet. Well, there was a little kitchen and a little bathroom, but the actual living space was about 12 by 12. I know because I bought an 8 by 8 rug to cover most of it. And that was nice. I just turned it into an awesome room. It was an awesome bedroom, awesome living room, very modular. Different ways you can live. But yeah, and then I got the 1-bedroom after that in my name. And but yeah, when I first got to the village, I didn't know I was going to do all that stuff. I was just like, I'm going to live in the village. I thought I was going to do it within a couple months. It took me a couple years. Is that what I'm doing now, or have I learned how to execute better? That's why I did real estate. After Occupy Wall Street, I was like, I need to learn how to execute. All these protesters have their hearts in the right place, the ones who aren't malicious. But we don't know how to do shit. And I always respected business as the art of doing shit. So I learned a little bit more about setting a plan and goals. You can't grow a business without that. Made my business consistent, made one of the hardest things to do in life consistent, which is commission-only sales, with 30,000 other people all fighting for the same business in Manhattan. If you want to prove yourself, get into a market, commission-only, going against everyone else, and the market will purify your bullshit. Because you can't... you can become like a Wolf of Wall Street guy, but I don't think that's how you build a business. That eventually catches up to you. Caught up to that guy, obviously. He's the biggest bullshitter, right? So if you want to do it the right way, if you grow a business the right way in a very competitive market, that's better than any MBA. So you fucking pay $50,000 a year to hobnob with a bunch of other entitled kids and a couple people who earned it themselves, or you just jump into a market. What's another market you can do? Insurance. I was going to do stocks or real estate in Manhattan, but just something with a lot of competition. And an open market. It's not, no one can manipulate the market, real estate market in Manhattan to an extent. There's large players in it, but there's 30,000 independent actors, a lot of landlords, a lot of people looking for apartments. So it abides by the logic of sales, and it's a good place to test your character and your sales philosophy, I think. The fighting game's like that, right? Everyone has their own skills and their techniques, but when you get in that cage, you have to test what your fighting philosophy is against someone else. Dating market, any metropolitan city with a lot of men and women dating, that's a good market to test your philosophy of love. Yeah, I always wanted to do that. I wanted to be at the point where you see someone cute, or you get that vibe, or in the way I put it, which I hope isn't too creepy, when you smell someone, but you just get that instinct, like, I should follow this. That's what I tell people too. Follow your instincts. You don't know if someone's the one or not, but if there's a reason why they're in your radar. There's a reason why you keep running across someone. That's what I was wondering about the gym. Yeah, maybe I don't want to be too cold. I don't want to be too much on my grind. But it's going to depend on when the money comes in. End of December. That's what I was saying. So 3 more weeks will put me at my dad's birthday, December 22nd. I should be wrapping up this. Hopefully I'm wrapping up my website. We start pitching stuff. My friend Mike just told me that he got some response from an agent for his projects. I told him at the beginning of the year I was going to start selling my shit. I think I put a fire under his butt. Mike is a kid I grew up with. Threw me up against that carport in 5th grade. Was going to beat me up until he decided to be my friend instead. I think he knew that like I was a stubborn enough spirit that if he whooped my ass, I already, when he would bully me too much, would back off. But that's the nature of life. We're not, very few of us are monsters or sociopaths. We all just want friends and to get along. But you see how the nature of, for every bully, there's 5 guys behind him saying, beat his ass, Mike. But Mike was smart enough to, some bullies aren't smart enough, and they're just seeking that validation. He had stepdads, but he had a really good mom who loved him, and he had enough love in his heart. I mentioned him because I just emailed him today. Grappler Baki, I watched this video about it because I mentioned it in one of these videos. So this therapy is bringing up stuff in my head in my life, where my influences came from. And Grappler Baki is definitely like, that guy's insane. Like the guy who writes that, because he loves martial arts. So when we were kids, we didn't have UFC. We had the first couple that we would rent from Blockbuster, which was around. And then Mike worked for Hollywood Video later. Yeah, he was obsessed with movies, that's why. So his creative talent, me and him were the creatives. If I make it writing, he definitely should too, but he has a completely different style. But like Game of Thrones, fantastical. Like, the dude has ideas in his head. This world is boring to some people because to the creatives, we're just like, is that the best you can imagine? Fucking, and propaganda and top-down hierarchies and astroturfed culture is boring. But Mike was a source of, I didn't watch the anime shit, so I'd tease him for it. That's what, Mike, I'm gonna edit that out of my vocabulary. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z was interesting, but that's like WWE, WWF, which they also watched. I was like, this is ridiculous. They watched Power Rangers. I was in 5th, 6th grade. I was like, really, dude? I think we're a little too old for that. I would make fun of him for it. But we'd play Power Rangers because you play fight. That's what it is. It's not so much fighting as play fighting. But Grappler Baki was like, the writer of that apparently loves martial arts, and you can tell there's technique. It's stupid, ridiculous anime where they're fighting just ridiculous fucking shit going on. But some of it, even in our kid mind, it inspires you. Like, what is it? We were just wild kids, and you find your little sources of like wild. It's like Horatio Alger's stories inspires capitalists, I'm sure, or people who want to make a lot of money. Yeah, when you're kids, what are your influences? Mike had this fiercely independent, you can do anything through your mind spirit, and me too. He might be a little bit too detached on reality with his whole creativity. I think when your creativity gets too far gone, then you don't you're not grounded enough to have the discipline. I hope he's dealing better with his nutrition. Last time I saw him, he's like over 6 foot, 6'2", 6'1" maybe, but he was hefty. He was a little bit hefty. But that's the thing, is it takes, like my other friend, he dropped out of wrestling. These are creative, really wild, good spirits, but then you have to have the discipline. I always saw that when I was young. I wanted to prove that I was a hard worker. I saw that was a part of it. But that's what Grappler Baki, or like Goku training, we would say. We'd be like doing stupid stuff in the pool, and we'd be like, we're doing our Goku training. But yeah, Grappler Baki's where I got the idea, where we got the idea. Like, he's like fighting like 1 million people. He's like, but you're only fighting 4 at a time because there's 4 sides of the combat. And so he's in the middle just throwing punches in 4 directions and kicks, but he's able to get through the crowd. Why do kids think of this? I think it's because it's this survival mechanism, the same way as kids cut each other down with this honest truth, is they're feral. They're, especially if you grow up in tougher and tougher neighborhoods, and so you have these worst case scenarios if I'm jumped or something like that. So you already have a plan. And Yeah, Joe Rogan said something. I don't want to talk about that guy too much, but I might forget this by the time you're watching this, Shaz. He was talking to David Tell and some other dude, the Jeffrey Ross. He's talking about how when he was a security guard, he would carry a hoodie with him so in case shit went down, he could bounce. It's like, that's one character. Shit goes down, you throw on the hoodie, you leave. And then the other character's like, well, the shit's going down. This is interesting. He's a survivor. He's a self-preservationist. And the people I grew up with, we call those people little bitches. That's what I had friends like that, but those are the friends who stood by while I was picking a fight with this other crew who came into our apartment complex. And our apartment complex was like, I thought tough enough that like, oh, these guys trying to walk through here fucking acting all tough. They came from a tougher neighborhood though. There was an entrance to our apartment complex into the nicer part of the city. And then there was a back entrance. And if people came from that back entrance, there's some ghetto ass shit. There's this kid who sliced open another kid's thumb. He came from the back entrance. So some of those hood kids, we knew they were coming out, up the back of the apartment complex, and we kind of watched. That was one of those kids took a friend of mine's bike, a white kid. And if in some neighborhoods, if you're white, that's a reason enough to pick on you. I was like this Arabic, Mexican-looking kid, and I got made fun of for that. But you're just like, whatever. So this kid, this guy borrowed his bike. Let me borrow your bike. Never gave it back. Well, he got punked by that guy. That's what happens, right? That's what happens to me in Puerto Rico. Where can I put my bag? Oh, in that truck over there. By the end of the party, where's my bag? I don't know. Where's that truck? I don't know. Wait, but you told me to put it there. This is on you. Slow down real quick. What's going on? But these rules you learn when you're young. And you can tell the ones who are a little bit more violent. And you don't want to be that's what it is. You don't want to be the most violent. They came from a different neighborhood, a different home, a different experience. And if they're very violent, then their lives are on a certain trajectory, and you just kind of see it from the outside. And when they get older, if they get older and they mellow the fuck out, they get the fuck out of there. That's what they're talking about hip hop right now. Glorification of violence and street culture. There's a wisdom to it. That's what I think the Tao is, and character and this and that. But then there's something that you're supposed to correct when you get older and mellow out. Otherwise, you're just living suicidally. But part of it was street culture, and part of it was these, like, I guess, influences, like tougher dudes who took me under their wing, I guess, or we made a partnership. I was creative enough and nerdy enough. I was Mike's nerdy friend in smart classes. He was my ghetto friend. I think I said that one story. We're in 6th grade, and he tells Carl, he's like, Carl, you say one more word to me, I will take my belt off and choke you with it. And I was at the table, and you start to learn this. It's like, since I'm there, Mike, in your crew, Mike's strength in our crew is only as good as his word. So if, like, he doesn't do shit he says, like we had Sleeping Bag of Horrors, if you break truth or dare, promise, you said you'd do that, it's like, oh, you're getting Sleeping Bag of Horrors. Or if you do something against our code, our ethics, we had an ethics, you get our punishment, and one of them was Sleeping Bag of Horrors. You get zipped up in this military sleeping bag, and we stomp the fuck out of you. That was like Boys in the Hood and a bunch of fucking gangster movies coming out beginning of the 90s. And it was like fucking you see people stomping each other in those movies. And so those aren't neighborhoods we live in, but we're like recognizing male culture and ghetto-ass culture, not glorifying it, kind of glorifying it. Fucking, it's interesting. You have to grow up and learn where's the wisdom or patterns and where's the shit that's just retarded suicidal behavior. But you have to have a word. Yeah, people didn't like hanging around people without a word. I think most of the rules in life you can learn on the playground. Some of it's ugly, but the playgrounds I grew up in, there weren't really bullies who were tyrants. I think the ecosystem takes care of itself. But anyways, there's a nature to human behavior. And that's one of the things that underpins anarchy too, is that there's this natural expression of society and human behavior where less involvement and less restriction will allow it to flourish. And then there's this other philosophy which underlies a lot of prescriptive behavior, that on our own we're helpless animals and we need strong authority to tell us what to do. That's authoritative. And that underpins religious authoritative behavior, which is divine rights of kings, but it also underlies a lot of like what's on the supposed left or Democrats, that we need the government to tell us what to do for our own good. So there's some different ways of looking at authority and society. And the way I grew up was that society takes care of itself for the most part. Even the ugliest parts seem to resolve themselves eventually. We did have authority coming in when it's too bad, but that's what authority is there as the last resort to, for abject poverty or for really violent shit. But you don't want to micromanage stuff too much. You want to let kids play, and we definitely played. Yeah, I don't know if I told that story, but I've been thinking about it, so I should tell it. Mike was like, Carl, if you don't... I probably told that story. I tell Mike at least once every couple of years. He said, well, that's what friends do. We're like, remember that time in 6th grade? He was like, if you say one more word to me, I will take my belt off and choke you with it. Carl was a nerdy little kid in our class. He just didn't know how to shut up. And I shut up. I was like, I saw that look in Mike's eye. I was like, ah, fuck. Michael's that friend. We were like, ah, fuck. Like that friend who got me in that fight in high school. And Carl was my friend. I hung out with Carl. Right before he moved, I went and played with him. We played a bunch, but he just didn't. Some people don't get it. What is it? Does that mean Mike's wrong? Carl, a guy like Carl, a little nerdy kid, couldn't be Mike's friend. But yeah, because Carl in 5th grade would walk around with me, or before school started, we took the same bus, and we'd have about 45 minutes, a half hour before school started. He'd be like, I had a dream last night where there's vampires and there's this, and he'd start telling me the story. And it's a cool story, but once I stopped, and this was a couple of days, it went on for a couple of weeks until I stopped hanging out with him in the morning because I got tired of it. But I was like, Carl, this isn't the same dream. I mean, you're making up the story. It's a cool story, but it's not the same dream. He's like, no, it's the same dream. Because Carl had decided at that time in his life that I couldn't look into his mind. And so he could lie to me transparently, and there's no way for me to prove it. That was his philosophy he was running with. I think in your development, you decide what belief systems you're going to run with, really foundational ones. And I noticed that. This guy thinks that just because I can't prove him wrong, he could tell me whatever. And I wasn't being a dick. I wasn't trying to. I was just like, Carl, that's this, because the next morning he'll be like, and then I had the same dream, but then this happened, and then the vampires fought with the werewolves, and it was all this mythical shit, and it was cool. It displays his creativity. Him and his brother were into Dungeons and Dragons, and this and that, but he didn't get certain things that I got in life. Honesty is the best policy. There's no reason to lie, even to entertain people. It's just silly. I was always like, it's just better to stick as close to the truth as possible, even if, like, this silly. And I tried to tell him in a very tactful way, like, that's cool, man. Like, that's really, I would just walk with him and let him tell me these stories for like the half hour before school started. But just one morning I got kind of tired of it. I was like, but it's not the same dream, Carl. It's not like no one, because I reflected into my life. I would a lot of times reflect, all right, what other people are thinking or doing. In my experiences, my life, is that true? And I was like, no one I know can continue the same dream night after night. Dreams are out of our control. Sometimes we go back to the same places and same characters, but randomly. For this kid over weeks of the time to continue the same dream, and from what I know about him later on, yeah, no, he was intelligent people, ego. That's why I really like Zen. It kind of balances out the intelligence, the physicalness, and Zen isn't even, the Tao that can be spoken isn't the real Tao. It's not about the dogma of a certain faith. It's about humility through meditation and calming your mind. Ego can get smart people just as well as it could get stupid people. Yeah, and that's what I saw. So Mike was like, and in our crew, we didn't respect just intelligence. We respected physical ability, integrity, a word. Now, those are the values we were developing. So Mike was like, hey, Carl. And Mike was a bit of a bull. It's not like Mike was a just leader. He wasn't a philosopher king. But where we lived, it was better to be Mike's friend. It kept things chill. He had the older brother. He had protection for him too, who was showing him stuff. So yeah, Carl ran his mouth. Mike said, you say one more word. Carl kept talking because we're in class. And to Carl, it was an empty threat. Mike didn't give a fuck about school. So Mike takes off his belt slowly, climbs over the fucking table because we were at a table with like 6 kids around it. Climbs over the table, wraps around, and I just remember it being like fucking Bart Simpson and like his dad choking him and his tongue coming out. Mike's over there fucking choking Carl, and Carl's like, ah! And the teacher freaked the fuck out. Because what would you do? You turn around and you see one of your kids choking another one with his belt. But I was cracking up. And I was friends with Carl. And afterwards, I was like, man, don't fuck with Mike. He's stupid. That's not. I'm sorry, Carl. But I wouldn't. If Mike gave me that red line, I wouldn't cross it. It's like your word is your word. Whatever, dude. You want to be pissed off? I just want to hang out with you. If you're unfair to me enough, I want to hang out with you. But he gave you a warning, and you have a word. Like when he would get suspended, just fucking 2 days not at school. Who gives a fuck? Once there was this guy in 7th grade. We go into the bigger pool. Now we're in middle school. All the elementary schools are feeding into here. Multiple bullies. There's that kid Dre, who fucking, or was it Dre Vaughn? He was a good fighter. He was a bit of a bully. He was smoking weed. He was having sex. We were all a bunch of dorks. Even though Mike was bigger than us and he knew how to fight, he was um, we were fucking playing chess and shit. We had that side of us playing. We liked grappling. We liked wrestling. We liked it. We liked it as much for Grappler Baki as we did for like the UFC. But there's this dude. Mike gets into it, fucking. So like he knows that people. Mike would live right down the street from the middle school. So he started to know everyone. Very gregarious person. And so he got into it with Dre and Dre Vaughn. I remember that because it's like, oh shit, this is my tough guy. But then this is other people's tough guy. They both don't back down. They both have a word. They both have people who. So I remember they're going to fight after school. And I was like, fuck, I wonder if what's going to happen. Because Drayvon actually, we know our silly shit, but Drayvon was like, supposedly knew how to box, this and that. He was a little bit smaller than Mike. But yeah, they fought after school, and I remember they went across the school street, so they wouldn't get in trouble after school. Well, and that's what it was. Mike wasn't going to back down. That's one of the most important things I learned is you try to keep your word. And I only saw it from across the street. I wasn't going to go across the street. I might get involved, and that was above my pay grade back then. I'm like, I never really, I was still, I don't know what I was. I guess a little bit afraid of confrontation. And then, which is bad, because then you'll project toughness, or you'll project physicality in the wrong times. I think you want to break that cherry as soon as possible. Don't be afraid of confrontation, because sometimes you might have to confront people about certain stuff. And what I've noticed in life is the people who are afraid of confrontation are the least capable of wielding force when it's necessary, because it's a big deal to them. Fucking getting punched isn't a big deal. Dying's a big deal. You know, even like a friend of mine like stabbed another one with a knife. That's not a big deal. They made a bet that they wouldn't smoke cigarettes. He broke his bet, and the fucking penalty of the bet was, you're gonna let me stab you with a knife. It was stupid. I fucking came into their house the next day. Like, what the fuck? Who died here? There's blood all along the wall going all the way to the bathroom. And then they tell me the story. Oh, he made a bet with him that we would, because we're all trying to stop smoking in our 20s. These are Army friends, so that's an Army story. Yeah, that's like a Marines, Army, military type fucking drunken story. Fucking let's stop smoking. All right, we're not going to smoke tonight. All right, but you have to have a penalty or else you're just going to fucking break out. I'll let you stab me, okay? You could stab me if I don't smoke. Okay, but I'm going to fucking stab you if you smoke a cigarette. And then one of them sneaks a smoke because they're drunk enough. And the other dude did a tour in Iraq. That was a Cav Scout dude. So he was like, I'm going to fucking stab you, dude. The fucking word's a word. That's one of the main bonds of friendship, I think. People you can depend on. He's like, all right. And the other dude's like, all right, pull down his shirt. I don't think he stabbed him that bad, but he stabbed him a good inch into his arm. It was bleeding for a minute. They said it wouldn't stop bleeding. I would like to think that we're not those people now. I stopped hanging out with him after a while. I stopped drinking with him. I was just like, there's too much crazy shit. And that was right after I stopped hanging out with him. I was like, yeah, this is reaffirming my choices. And the one who got stabbed is a lawyer now, so there we go. We can still do dumb shit, just less dumb shit. We have less lives to throw into the wind like that. But yeah, so Mike was going to fight that guy across the street, and I remember watching from across the street, and Mike kept coming at the dude, and the dude was popping him because Mike didn't really know how to box. We would always wrestle. So if you know how to box even a little bit, you know how to duck a punch and you know how to throw a punch. And Mike's just fucking brawling and he's bigger and but he's not really hitting the dude. And the dude kept like Floyd Mayweather style when they stopped at um, him and Conor McGregor fight. If someone has your timing and is just outmaneuvering you, you're basically, you have no chance. They're just picking you apart. This dude was picking Mike apart. But the dude was hiding behind his friends because Mike just kept coming at him. And I think that's kind of silly because if Mike had gotten his hands on him, then he probably would have fucked him up or done something. But Mike just kept coming at him, and the dude was like, and Mike bruised bad. Some people bruise badly. So his face, I just remember the teachers ran across the street, grabbed him, brought him to the principal's office. They both got suspended, which is stupid. They're across the street. And that's what like our atmosphere is like. I'm pretty sure my dad tells me if you're fucking talking on the bus or you're fucking fighting or doing shit, the bus driver, first of all, could hit you. But also, he would just take the people off the bus and make them fight. He'd be like, this is happening right now. And then you get back on the bus. But he's like, settled it and fucking come back on. Not that people are going to kill each other, but he said that he remembers on the bus, if you were fighting with someone else or something, bus driver would pull over, bring you outside, and fucking say, you guys are going to fight right here and there, and then you're getting back on the bus. It's just like, I think letting kids fight isn't the worst thing in the world at a certain age. Once you get to the age where you can fucking kill each other, maybe high schoolers shouldn't be able to fight, but kids, I don't know. These are just ideas from when I grew up. And then listening to my folks, how it used to be, and then watching the effects of current generations. But yeah, I remember Mike being taken to the principal's office and just his face is all swollen up. But he was pissed, and that was the thing, is he was so pissed because he didn't get to let it out. And also he fucking, like, the dude was like, oh, dude, they were friends afterwards, and the dude didn't fuck with him anymore. And like, he earned a lot of respect because that's what it is in a fight. It's not so much about trying to win or this and that. It's about testing each other. And the dude fucking knew not to fuck with Mike because Mike, it wasn't about like boxing. It was about like, if you get me mad, I'm gonna like, he had that red line, which might come from like not having a good relationship with his dad or whatever. But when he got pissed, and some people when they see red, they're just going. And there's this dude in Puerto Rico where it's like, I never really wanted to fight him. I tried to show him I wasn't scared of him, but I was like, if I fight this dude, I'm gonna have to like put him down, like knock him out or something. He's not gonna stop. Like some people, you could just see that in them. Is if they get started like that, they're not gonna stop. And I don't know. Yeah. I was thinking, I have to fucking choke him out or something. If we get in it though, like I'm gonna have to like. Some people, I don't know. That's just something I think. And that's how those people survive in life. It's like what I've noticed is if you go through some hard times or some tough places, you have to build that. Or the other way, you build a survival mode. But some people don't fucking carry the hoodie around and are like, I'm just going to hide when it goes down. They just, something inside them says like, no matter what happens to me, I'm going to fucking go down swinging. And but then if they have that and they lack self-control, then if you set them off, then now you got this little nuclear reactor that's just going to fucking, a loose pit bull. Knowing how to tell what type of person you're dealing with is important in life, right? I'm pretty stubborn. I told some dude that once. I was like, it's like I need to get hit to like wake up. Like some fighters are like that, I think. You gotta like I'm really, really chill, but then like there's this like escalation. Like you really don't like being below people. So when some people are just don't like being dominated in any form. I don't know. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't win in wrestling, but I wouldn't get tapped because I just like got that little little engine that just keeps going. I'm wondering about that. Wondering who I am, my character. Here we go. Haven't talked at all about the video. It's alright. We needed to catch up. Chaz from the future.
Look up, Hannah. Look up, Hannah. Look up, Hannah. I'm sorry. I don't want to be an immigrant. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone. The good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent, and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill their promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite! We all want to help one another. Human beings are like men. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone. The good earth is rich, but we have lost the way. Lost the way. Lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls. Greed. 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 We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. Too little. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Soldiers. Soldiers. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Soldiers. Hate. Soldiers. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. I'm sorry. Hannah. Can you hear me? Wherever you are. Look up, Hannah. The clouds are lifting. The sun is breaking through. We are coming out of the darkness into the light. We are coming into a new world, a kindlier world, where men will rise above their hate, their greed, and brutality. Look up, Hannah. The soul of man has been given wings, and at last he is beginning to fly. He is flying into the rainbow, into the light of hope, into the future, the glorious future that belongs to you, to me, and to all of us. Look up, Hannah. Look up.
I really like that one. I got 10 minutes to talk about it. You know what I was thinking? It's because that girl yesterday just reminded me that the wisdom of the child can point out what's wrong with the world. We don't. If you think that you need a Harvard education to figure out what's wrong with the world, we're going to be limited to the very few who go to Ivy League schools. And obviously there's something corrupt about how they're being indoctrinated. Also, if I was playing this chessboard from the other side, I would just quickly go to those institutions of power then, and I would make sure that they are indoctrinated, and that whatever the Western canon or whatever foundational beliefs that we put into them and incentives that we put on the hierarchies that they have to matriculate through, we make sure that there's a certain mind state that they have to develop in order to pass through these gates, which is pretty much what Noam Chomsky says, that if you're in a position of authority or power in this society, having matriculated through our hierarchies, then you'll have a certain assumption set that you don't have to be lied to because you're already lying to yourself. That's what we're trying to recognize. Only people, or it seems like people like me who've somehow survived and gained some sort of success outside the power structures, are able to point that out. And then the people who are outside the power structures then have insecurities because I didn't go to school, or I didn't get a normal job. And then also probably you didn't have as many relationships because females seeking value, the alpha or the male to carry their seed, whatever the fucking biological imperative is, whether conscious or subconscious, someone outside the pack doesn't seem like the right person to procreate with. So you have to figure out those insecurities. I found my type of girls who are also outside the pack, or just recently when I was doing real estate, I was trying to actually hook up with I would call basic girls that did the right thing, went to college, got the job. Like that neighbor down the hallway, she worked for Walmart. Her dad was into fracking. She was living in Paris after the West Village. So she was a very standard girl, and me being able to pursue and get her was validation that, okay, I'm back on this supposed track. I can do it. It just a reason to take the insecurity out of your mind. Maybe that was a little bit selfish, but then again, she was pulling home Uber guys, so she was kind of hard up on her in her own right. She was thirsty, and we both scratched an itch. I probably could have scratched it a little bit better. Yeah. Sometimes you're good, and sometimes it's just practice, right? As a guy, I think females don't appreciate the mental game that goes with a guy performing well. There's hydraulics involved, self-control, there's this and that, and sometimes things catch you by surprise, and you're not quite as good as you could be. But it is what it is. Even bad sex is good sex, with sincerity, and it's just sometimes it's silly. We had it was fun. It was, yeah. I wish we had more time. I want to hit her up in Paris if I'm there. I think I saw her in a way that she isn't often seen or doesn't even see herself. I saw a lot of beauty and good in her, and I think she put herself down a little bit too unnecessarily because this culture, when we say it's misogynistic, people talk about rape culture or the patriarchy. It's fucking blow me, right? People are getting raped and women are being abused, but I think there's a more complex thing going on. We have a society that doesn't value human values, and so it's preying upon the weakest among us. When you talk about the rape culture and patriarchy, we're cutting the conversation short. It's not just women, old people are getting preyed upon. Why are my folks voting for Trump and watching these stupid shows? There's these values that they're being preyed upon by propaganda. Old people are being conned. I just watched an article about that. Children, the church and the pedophilia is one example, but there's a lot of examples. The sodas in the schools. Who's making money off of fucking feeding our children sugary shit? There's So it's just the weakest in our society because our society doesn't have human values, and the women are a symptom. If we don't talk about the bigger discussion, we isolate the victims, and now we just create another voting bloc. And we can tell that those in power, this is what the Democrats seem to like to do, is to, I call it victim whoring. You find a voting bloc of victims that you can then wrap your vices within, virtues. That's what they did to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi. They claimed that he was about to commit a genocide in Benghazi. But they, at this exact same time, ignoring the genocide happening in Yemen. You can't take these people's word at face value. That's what we were talking about earlier, word. Some people grew up valuing a word. And then other people would say, you had a sleeping bag of horrors? You guys were animals and vicious. We were odd kids. We were creative and odd. And some people could have gotten hurt doing what we were doing. And we got hurt sometimes. But I think, did I tell the story once? We were making weapons to throw at each other, pieces of PVC pipe with fucking pieces of metal stuck into them. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. Thinking that fucking were warriors and shit. Running around the apartment complex. And Mike was like, go ahead. I made my fucking thing, and I would swing the PVC pipe, and this fucking, like rebar almost, would fly out of it. And we were just like, imagine we're fighting things and just being stupid. And Mike had like the sword, thinking that he's the one who's watching anime, so his fucking mind is even more creative. He's like, go ahead, throw it at me, I'll block it. I was like, no, Mike, no, because I know that if I piss Mike off, he's going to whoop my ass. And he's like, no, don't worry, it's cool. It's like, all right, that's your word. Now he can't get mad at me. And fucking I throw it at him, and it flies straight at his head, hits him in the head, and when shit like that happens, you bring it up for like years. You're like, remember that time I fucking threw that thing at you? And he just fell. It hit him in the head. He just fell over like a fucking sack of potatoes. And he was like, oh. And I was cracking him. I was like, I told you, man. Oh, you're a ninja warrior. You're going to block a projectile with your sword. He swung, fucking missed it, and fucking hit him in the head. But it's like, if he had fought me over that, he would lose his word. And that's all you have. That's all you have in social groups, in certain social groups, and in other social groups that don't operate that way. What do you have? Charlie Chaplin, he seemed like he had those values, word, honor, integrity. But at the same time, he was a bit of a perv, but that might have been just the sign of the times. He dated and married these young women who were under 18. I think 16 was consensual, but it's like, I don't know, my grandfather dated someone when she was 14 and married her when she was 16. Back then, as soon as a woman has her period and is fertile, that's okay. And now we give them more space, which I think is more human. Even if you can impregnate and marry a woman as soon as she has her first period, 13, 14, even if that's how society has always happened, what do you lose by giving them a couple more years to figure out what they want to do? But maybe that's just when the stress levels of society and the animalistic behavior and survival is really high, we're doing that. But now we should have enough comfort that we're not just trying to survive. Things are a little bit more chill. We can allow women to reach age 18 and have more of an agency in what they want. But so I get that, but it's also a blind spot maybe. But for that blind spot, he had a lot of good. So that he was such a human values. He had so many human values in his art that his movies and himself was the biggest movie star in the world. And when Hitler came to power, he borrowed his mustache and his look because Hitler was all about manipulation. That's what's in Mein Kampf, how it is Tell the Big Lie. He went to Britain to learn PR and lying. But they don't really talk about that his money and his training came from some British experts. Or there's just some associations. I have to look into it. It didn't stop at Hitler. He didn't invent it, and it didn't stop with him. But so then Charlie Chaplin made this movie, The Great Dictator, I think, to reclaim his narrative and then have his say on Hitler, which is really amazing. And I think part of that is the reason why they ran him out of the country, not the blind spot and the lechery. Although Yeah, it's interesting. Charlie Chaplin. I think he had some wisdom to add to this discussion. That's it.